You've been a constant friend indeed. You were right there, providing for me.
God bless everybody. You're listening to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. What a great way to start your day. And we are Real Talk for Real Men. And we have a great show for you. And not only our Awesome Radio family, but Smooth Radio coming out of Rocky Mount. Amen. We're going to keep it smooth for you. All right. So with me today, I am Pastor Tremaine Forbes, pastor of Kingdom of Heaven Ministries here in Greenwood, North Carolina. I have with me
Elder Nat Farrell with Kingdom of Heaven Ministries.
and also.
Good morning, everyone. Coach Vernon Garrett.
All right. And
Pastor Dan Lawson, United Gospel Outreach.
all right. It's good to be here with you, gentlemen. Today we're going to talk. We had such a great show. A friend came in, threw a firebomb, and took off. So we want to start off today. We're going to talk about Black economics, the problem, and the process, and the payoff. And so we're going to talk about that today. We got real solutions. All right. So today we're going to start off. We're going to let Elder Nat Farrell take the pole position.
Good morning. What we're going to do, what I'm going to do is, first off, I'm going to say we had a healthy conversation last week. And the first thing I want to do is, and I asked Pastor to allow me to do that, I'm going to concede the census numbers of the median Black medium household numbers that basically come out of the census. Even the other people that do data, they use the census numbers. So I concede that we are the lowest. We have the lowest median household numbers. And so I just want to take that off the table, that we concede and we agree on that. The other thing that I'm going to say, and then I'm going to let Coach get into it and talk about, we're going to talk about the problem. And I just personally think if we don't put in the reasons, then it's not complete. And then hopefully we'll get to the solutions at another part of the show.
Well, thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to bring that fact to the table when it comes to how we live as American African descendants, and the race is important. That is not a question. We cannot join another race. So I come today to chat about the solutions. Now, from what I hear, the elder has called us to do, we can spend more time talking about that. I do want to address the caller that called last week that mentioned that in summary, she's saying Black people have a lot of power economically. And I believe that she felt like I diminished our position on the earth as buyers. And I have to address that comment by saying, yes, we spend billions of dollars in industry. We are abominable when it comes to swaying the gross national product. If we spend as we do, the dollar stays in our community about 8 minutes. It goes out to your local stores, your local chain stores, and not necessarily to our stores. So we buy a lot of hair care products. We buy millions of dollars of hair care products and things of that nature. So we change the lives of other cultures that come to America. We have not changed our lives, and we have found ourselves at the bottom. I do want to preface my point of view with We are not to hoard up treasures on earth. The Bible says, put those treasures, those that do not be or not corrupt by moth and rust. So that's the goal. But if you look at the Bible, if you look at the Testament, the Old Testament, it will tell you that we should leave an inheritance. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children. If you look at, as we start the solutions, I want to cite two positions, and I'm going to throw it back over to the other guys. I'm going to conclude what I'm saying now while we watch the clock. But I want to cite the biblical principles of keeping land. It says there is, if there were no, if a person, the Bible laid out specific guidelines of inheriting family property. The eldest son was to inherit a double portion. If you look at Deuteronomy 21, 15, and 17, if there were no sons and daughters that were allowed to inherit their father's land in the absence of direct heirs, a favored servant or more distant kinsman could inherit the land. At no time could the land pass to another tribe. Look back at a lot of the land that have been given up from us because of non-payment of taxes. That strategy was a plight of systemic racism to rid us of our inheritance. Last thing I'll say, my definition of what we should be accumulating and what we should have is based on everyday necessities. I'm not talking about we all should have Lexuses. We all should have 10-bedroom houses. We should have enough to have access to health care. We should have access to a better living condition. We should have access to the financial tools that will allow our family and our generations to be well established. And those are just some of the points of my disappointment that I do not believe we have a working wage. We are job dependent and probably not at $15 an hour. And thus our children will be, or possibly could be, begging bread. So I digress. I pass it on to someone else. I do have another source to cite and quite a bit of information to draw from.
Okay, Pastor Lawson.
Well, let me first comment and say that that principle of keeping the wealth in the tribe, that's still practiced by Jews and a lot of Middle Eastern countries. And actually, I think a lot of Caucasians in America try to keep the wealth in the family. I think that, I guess it's a good point that maybe in the Black community, we don't do it enough. I'm sure that there are some of us that do that, but we don't do it enough. And of course, we've got a history of giving up wealth. Right after the Civil War, there was a lot of wealth that was put into the hands of a lot of Black people. And eventually, a lot of that property and land and farmland went right back into the hands of the people that owned it before, partly because we just did not have enough understanding or education to hold on to it, and then partly because those who got it from us had leverage, where it was so easy for them to just take it back from us. But I'd like to also mention, you talk about access. That word, I think, is a good word to use when you gauge the accomplishments of Black people in America. I think that word access is a good word to use. And when I look at what has happened in our community, the Black community, since the Civil War, which officially ended slavery, there's been access to education. There's been access to transportation. There's been access to politics and voting. And we can go on and on and on. Access has been added The challenge that I would think that we're faced with is the ability to do things within the Black community. Used to, it was about trying to get back at those or getting those who were harassing us to lift up, to take the weight off. But now I think it's more of energizing those within our community, to get up and take advantage of the access that we have. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is when you look at all of the accomplishments from the Civil War, I would say up to 1968. I don't think what we've done since 1968 up to 2024 can compare to what was done from the Civil War to 1968. So to me, there's a diminishing of the effort. So that I'll leave it at that.
Elder Nat Farrell.
Okay. I'm going to kind of go in another direction because I think the reasons, before we get to any type of solutions, I think the reasons that we find ourselves in this place at the bottom, as my friend likes to say, I think we have to look at the reasons and consider the institutional racism and how this thing works. We've been at this since we've been here. We've been fighting this same battle. And I don't blame us per se. Perhaps we have a place, but I believe that the system is working exactly how the system was set up to work. The system wasn't set up for us. The system is working like they set it up to work. When even before the Constitution was written for rich white landowners. Women weren't even a part of that. So it wasn't set up for us to do. So since we came into play after the Civil War, and we finally got, even before that, we were pushing these things that we're talking about now. We were always trying to work and get that upward mobility and equality. We've always been doing this, and we're constantly doing it, and we're still doing it. And we find ourselves still with this median household situation. I think we've made progress, but it still isn't up to par. Now, I believe that we've always had this fight, and the system fights back.
That is so true.
So the fact that, I mean, when you start looking at mortgage, we just had something, and I'm gonna pass it on, but we just had a settlement in North Carolina. I forget the amount.
You messed me up with that one. Coming like a settlement.
A settlement.
Wait a minute.
Right,
we might need to go and start looking for that booger right now.
I'm gonna.
My ears perking.
I meant to have this already written down.
It's okay.
But it's Josh Stein, the AG, along with the Biden administration. They settled. I forget how many millions of dollars with communities with I believe it's First National. I don't want to say, and I'm not sure, but anyway, a bank in the Winston-Salem, Charlotte area, and it was on redlining. That Black people were not getting the loans that they should have been getting, and it's really that, and that they were not giving Black people that had the credentials that were ready, they weren't getting the loans, and for certain neighborhoods, and that whole redlining thing. So I'll have more info on that a little bit, but that's the point that I'm making. Reasons. There are reasons that keep us, and the system fights what we're trying to do.
That is so true, Elder. There's so many things that keep us suppressed. One of the things I wanted to just point out, as reported by the Tampa Bay Times pundit fact blog, Larry Elder referred to us as an annual report by Target Market News called "The Buying Power of Black America," which publishes that the only estimate we could find of the total earned income of African Americans, and this kind of touched what you were talking about, Vernon. In 2011, the report he provided us, Target Market News, put the income spent by African Americans at $836 billion.
Wow.
Almost $1 trillion. That's in 2011. We're at 2024 and wages have went up. And so we have, you're talking about $1 trillion. And you're saying that in eight minutes, the moment we get our paycheck, that money is funneled out. And I like how Elder brought it, because you think about it, back in the day when there was a time of segregation, the money stayed in the community. Even though we have subpar facilities and different things, we don't really look at the beauty of uplifting each other. I make it and I'm just talking about me personally, I make it a habit of trying to spend my money in the community more amongst our people as much as possible. I ain't gonna say who said it, but they said one thing that we could do to help our race, there's so many black poor people in it, don't be one. So I'm trying to do a little better. But then I want to read this out. If Black America were a country, it'd be the 15th wealthiest nation in the world. Let's look at that. If we were a country, you take out of and I'll tell you how many countries we have in a minute, we would be the 15th wealthiest nation in the world. And that's something to think about. Go ahead, Coach.
Great. I'm with you. We're talking about reasons, and that potential right there is definitely, we're a child of colonization. We've been deprogrammed. We have been disenfranchised about the earth, but the natural resources were in our hands from the continent of Africa. And we have to realize that we've made the whole world monetize us and our resources. So I got to agree with both of you. Our buying power is off the charts. They probably can't measure it 3 minutes before the break, but we are definitely abominable when it comes to our position. I want to give another reason that we have, because by the end of the show, I'm going to give you, I thought for a moment that our ancestors, our forefathers, King and the fellas and the ladies, had not given us clear instructions on what we should do within the last 100 years. I felt like we were given a baton. We either dropped it, didn't understand what they were saying, and it turns out to be just a few generations ago, the baby boomers had the baton, King and if you're probably above 70 right now, I'm talking to you. There were clear instructions, and we failed because, number one, I think we were fearful. The last analogy or metaphor I'll give is when slavery was abolished, there were a lot of us, a large percentage of standing out there in the woods, and we said, oh, I'm going back. I can't stay out here. Oh man, we ain't got no food. Man, we ain't got no shelter. I'm feeling kind of sick. I'm going back. But as a coach, I walk up to you and say, you're not going back. We fought too hard and we faced fear and we got off of that plantation and we're not going back. But some of us went back because why? It was comfortable. And so now when it came to taking the instructions I'm about to share with you before the end of the show, we failed. Now, I'm saying this from a position of a coach. I was not the only coach in history. You'll see others once I give you the analogy. But as a coach, we have a head coach. We have other coaches doing jobs and solving problems, and we coach and move what's there. The same as the pastor has his clinical methodology of working with the congregation, counseling. I just coach what's there. I can't help you with your trauma. I can help you work with your trauma, but to resolve it, you'd have to go to another clinician. So I just wanted to preface that because I got some other things to say when we come back. 41 seconds for Pastor Trey.
All right. So we are talking about Black economics, and we will be back. Please call in. Our phone number is 252-756-2008. That's 252-756-2008. We want to hear from you when we come back from the sponsorship break. Don't call right now, but after the sponsorship break, call in at 252-756-2008. We will see you back in a moment after the sponsorship break, and we're looking forward to your conversation.
Hi, this is Minister Andrew Davis. Are you overwhelmed with the cares of life? Are you stressed and don't know what to do? Does your spirit need encouragement? If the answer is yes, then tune in to Sound Biblical Truth on Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. and Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. Again, Sound Biblical Truth on Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. and Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. It will be food for your spirit and encouragement to your soul. And remember, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Have a safe and victorious week. God bless you.
Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me.
Good morning, Smooth Radio listeners, and also Awesome Radio 106.9 listeners. We are great. We're having this conversation about Black wealth. We had a lot of people that called in last week, and you didn't fit your call in. You were calling different numbers, but the number you can call is 252-756-2008. I wanted to throw this little bit in. As a country, I was looking at the richest countries. We have more. If you took our money out, hear me well, we would be ahead of a lot of countries. And I had them all. So you're looking at several. Matter of fact, if you took out us as a people, our wealth, I had the number, and we would be over such countries as Ireland. We'd be over Sweden, and there's others. Finland. I'm calling out countries that you would know. That we have over several, but just something to let you know: New Zealand, Greece, and a lot of Arab countries. Definitely the Ukraine. But just to give you an idea of our spending power. So, what if we had ways that the money circulated in our communities? We could keep it in our community. Who wants to grab the mic now?
I'll grab it, except I don't really. Maybe somebody wants to answer that question first, but I have something else to say.
Well, I'd say in keeping wealth in our neighborhood, and I'm coming from a coach's point of view, the worst phrase that exists in our community right now that we're using that does not apply to another tribe. I love the word tribe because I'm not playing the race card here. The worst word or phrase is be what you want to be. You can do anything you want to do when you grow up, because I believe we should reclaim our children and direct them. And that is an institution. Our family is an institution. You tell your son what you need your family to be. I need an attorney. I need a doctor. I need an insurance agent. You create your family business, your model, and you direct your children in the path. The Bible says train them. And I believe that's what that says. And so when we say be what you want to be, whatever you want to be, that's for when you become what your family needs. Then you can own, if you want to do hair, you can own a barbershop. You can own a car dealership. You can own those things when you start to diversify wealth. America is a capitalistic society. It's based on getting it and creating a business. But we should direct our children in the pathway that they should go to suit the family's needs. Because what? It's your kingdom. We are a kingdom, and those are kingdom building tactics, kingdom building principles that you should have. And now we have the family growing up. I'm going to college in California. I'm going to college in New Zealand. I'm going to study abroad. For what? Because you're chasing somebody else's race and you're patterning yourselves after them, what they got in the state established. We don't. We make $27,000 a year. We barely got land in the family, y'all. So they don't have anything to stay home for. And then plus the families that's listening, they're not going to be there to take care of you. So you got to get home health. You got to get somebody else to come into your house. And now I hear the millennials, which is my children, crying upset because childcare is $800 a month. Why? Because when your kid get off the bus, grandma don't live there right there. Your aunt don't live there right there. Your son or your daughter can't go to nobody else's house. You don't trust them. You think this is a pedophile. We don't have communities, but that's what you chose, to leave the estate, to leave the community by choice because you what? Woke.
You know what? I'll tell you something. I'm gonna jump in. I saw this lady. She had went to school for child care, and I thought it was very interesting how she ran her home. She ran her home where the babies were paying like $80 per month, and she had a little bit over than what the state required. You know, you can have a certain amount of children for child care till you got, then it goes to a level where they say, okay, now you need to hit the state requirements. But let me just make it real plain. She had it where she was making about $4,000 a month extra. And I just thought about, how about if that $800 that they got to pay a month really went into one of our households, a trusted person. Now, I'm not suggesting this. I'm just saying, how about if we had it where, how about if more churches, and I know some churches do have those daycares, but how about if the money stayed within our community? And then we had businesses within the churches that could soak up some of those dollars. Pastor Lawson, you've been quiet for a long time now. You've been quiet. You've done well.
I think when you talk about keeping wealth, in the Black community, I think there's a lot of there's just a lot of restrictions that would be unfair. I think that it makes sense if you're talking about land and property. I think it makes sense for that. But after you get past real property, land and buildings, I think it's going to be almost impossible to do some of the things that it seems like you all might be alluding to. For instance, when you talk about your children, you get 18 years with your children. Mm-hmm. So you're going to convince them to be totally Black and be totally Black community. Well, you might succeed with some of them, but most of them, when they turn 18, they're going to tell you, I am going to get a long ways away from here. I'm not interested in, all that hurt and pain that y'all want to avenge from slavery days and blah, blah, blah. I want to go live my life. I want to go to UCLA. I want to go and experience things that I would not be able to experience in the Black community. I want to spend my money wherever it makes me happy, irregardless of who I'm spending it with or giving it to, or whether they're Black, white, brown, yellow, whatever color. They may not buy into it. I can understand the property thing, but after that, I think there is a limit to how much you control in your efforts to create the Black economy. So yeah, I'm all for it. I understand how it would pay off, how it would benefit, but I don't think it's feasible, and I really don't think it's necessary. I think that Black people are going to want to participate in the global economy as much as they possibly can if they want to maximize their resources and their capacity to get wealth.
Well, I'm gonna play Vernon advocate. What if we did have a way that we could keep our money, or we could patronize black business owners that are competitive?
To a limit, you can do that, but I don't think that's something that you can make a rule.
No, we know that, but it could be a self-governing. It could be taught in to some of our households maybe, and we have about a minute to go. I want to read this.
I'm glad Obama didn't do that. He'd have never become president if he'd limited himself to the black community.
Well, he might could have. Well, I don't want to get in that argument.
That's just a rude example, little crude example.
I got you. He was the president of all people. I want to say this: even before graduating high school, many black students lack the resources needed to get into college and to succeed there. Only 57% of black students have access to a full range of math and science courses necessary for college readiness. I know when I was going to school, they didn't push us toward college prep all the time. It was kind of those that had that in their minds. Whereas 81% of Asian students do, and 71% of white students. I was going to go a little further, but I don't have the time at this moment. But we have, and this, we have to take and do things that can build. It's got to be an intentional effort to build up our community. On that note, we're going to the sponsorship break, and then Vernon will have the pole position.
Can public events affect your witnessing rights in America? Stay tuned.
Legal advice you must not ignore. All ahead on today's Legal Alert.
Evan was an avid witness for Jesus Christ, and he even liked to preach in the open air every now and then with his other people at the church. He knew his city was holding a large-scale event that would bring thousands of people to the city, and he was excited to get in the thick of it and witness and preach and let people know about Jesus Christ. However, he was told by police there were some additional speech restrictions when he went to set up. Could that be legal? He called us at the Christian Law Association. Our attorneys explained that big events can transform public forums into limited forums or even non-public forums in the name of crowd control. They helped Evan analyze his particular event and found him the best way he could to keep witnessing at this great event for Christ. He had the right to witness, but he had to be careful as to what the law was in the event he was at.
Hope that perspective is helpful for your ministry. And if you've got more questions, why not link up with an attorney at our website, christianlaw.org. That's christianlaw.org.
Surely in the famine, God is with me. Surely in the famine, God is with me. Surely in the famine, God is with me.
And we're back. One of the things that on 106.9 FM, Real Talk for Real Men, one of the things that I have done during the pandemic, I educated myself more and more about how to do stocks, and I have done well. I'm just quite natural. I've done well with the small resources that I do have. It is not as complicated. In other words, I decided to do it because I didn't have enough money at the particular time to really open up the business that I would want to, but then I bought stocks in companies that I felt like I go to all the time. That's my method. I ain't gonna call out all my companies, but you think about the companies that you do business, that you do a lot of business with. Those are some that might be some you can. And so sometimes when I walk in big stores, I start thinking, "Oh yeah, this is my store." I almost want to tell them, "Hey y'all, y'all need to start goofing off." But I know I've got clocked or something. But yeah, y'all need to start goofing off. Y'all burning up some money here. Let's get some. But that's one way that we can improve is through the stock market, through being able to own land and property, different ways. Sometimes we need to get as a collective and be able to purchase. Vern, can you give us some of your ideas how we can, since we're on the last quarter, what can we do to improve?
Well, collectively, we have failed the Generation Y because we're spending money taking care of our great grandchildren. Pastor Lawson just said, I don't think it will work. You know, it didn't work because they're not equipped. Generation Y, they're around 30 years old. They had a culture shock when they hit and found out they actually have to work, not just know how to use the internet. But they are spending the baby boomers' money right now. The baby boomers is still the wealthiest generation in the United States. So it didn't get Generation X, which is my age. We don't have any money.
Yeah.
Let me say this in a way that people might listen. The baby boomers aren't dead yet. They haven't signed over their wealth, their land, their houses. And if you know some people, they still own that money, and they are supporting the little children because I haven't equipped my children enough to do it. So Pastor Lawson is still providing. His generation is still taking care of me and the one behind me.
Oh, wow.
By default,
Look, he's
not
shaking
by
his-
choice.
He was shaking his head like as if he agreed with you.
And I left this open just in case he wanted to say I'm trying to be pro-black, in which I see you can get that feeling. I'm saying be pro-family.
Oh, that's
Feed your son, tell him feed his son first, family first. Now, I love my Caucasian white brothers and sisters because you know what? There's a classic joke that Cat Williams has that says, you call your white friend, you call your black friends, you in jail. The black friend's going to say, well, what were you doing over there anyway? You shouldn't have been there. I might get you out. I got it. But if you call your white friends, hey, we're getting the gang and we're coming out there to go get you. Don't worry about it. So there are ways that we're self-hating that even trips us up. But when it comes to spending money with us, our family, I'm just saying spend money with your mama. Take care of your mama, which we're having to do. Take care of your brother. Take care of your sister. Black first. Your family first. Take them on the trip, a cruise with you to Europe.
Well, why Europe? Okay.
If you want to go,
He-
okay, you know about spending
Yeah,
so much.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that ain't the black community there. You go to Europe on a
Exactly.
cruise. That ain't black community.
Right, but you enjoy the amenities with your
Yeah,
family,
yeah.
or what businesses do you have? Do I have a company that you can invest stock in, Pastor Trey? You didn't say black companies because we don't have them like that.
That was my point right there.
We don't have them, and I'm going to go into a king demonstration that's going to give
Well,
my
hold on,
resolutions
hold
to
on.
the problem.
Elder Nat, you get a lion share of this because you've been over there quiet.
Yeah, I've been quiet because I'm sitting here listening to blame. I'm sitting here listening to stuff that I really have to push back on.
You might well go back to the plantation, Nat, because you're scared. So take it like a man. Take it like a man, and
Real
just
talk.
present
Let's
what
have some
you're going to
real talk.
present. Present your information and let the people determine it.
Okay.
Because I'm about to see you running back the other way. I ain't scared. I believe I could be wrong in a lot of instances. But let's go.
First of all, that's not truth. That's misinformation. Everybody that came off the plantation didn't run back to the plantation.
Did I say
That's a
everybody?
No,
Or
but
did I say you?
you're speaking, sir. No, I'm not. And that's not my perspective. So everything that you seem to be saying is blame. Now you're blaming me. See, the whole thing that you're doing is like it's our fault. It's almost like the game. I watched the game, the Super Bowl,
Right.
and I listened to the commentary the next day, and a lot of people were blaming. Well, San Francisco didn't do that. They should have ran more. They should have did this. Because I'm gonna bring it into the sports thing, which I know you understand.
Mhm.
And then I kept saying, but wait a minute. I think the defense had something to say about. The defense had something to say about that. So all the things we're talking about, we should be doing this, and we didn't do this, and we didn't do that. There's opposition that has something to say about that. And they are effective in getting to our money. They are effective in getting to our, we act as if they don't exist. It's all our fault.
Well,
We
whoever
haven't done
they
this.
is,
Wait a
whoever
minute,
they
let
is,
me-
well, that's why we poured in.
Okay, well, I'm
Who is
here.
the they? We
Who
pour.
are the they?
We pour.
The system. We are in a system. It's not just, it's just us. We have to deal with this.
Yes.
You want to talk about family? My experience with family is different maybe than yours, because I've seen my grandfather pass land on, and I've seen other people in the neighborhood The black community, we talk about the black community. The black community has changed. Integration did a lot of positive things, but it did some negative things when it came to the black community. It essentially dismantled that. Where you had a community where we had to deal with each other because we couldn't deal with them. So we had a community where we could spend the money with each other. Well, along came, we wanted to get more resources that came with integration.
Mhm.
So integration now helped to dismantle that community. Now, I'm not saying right or wrong with that. I think there's good and bad that came with that. So, but now we have to deal with the world that we're in. And I have some ideas too that I think a lot of it is personal.
Go ahead and leave me about 4 minutes because I got my solutions over here.
Well, I think that we have to deal with personal when it comes to the economy of, like you said, you teach your children. I think the education is very important. And when you teach your children how to handle money, how to deal with money, I hear Pastor talk about this from time to time. And I'm just going to throw out a couple of things. This is from a person who does this. They deal with real estate. I used to be involved with that. I understand that owning is important. But she says some things like, you know, when your children get to a certain point, you teach them about one, getting a job. When you teach them about open an IRA, start thinking about later. Okay, things like that. I'm not going to read everything. Budgeting. Teach them about budgeting. Teach them how to handle money. And I think if more people are doing that, then you have more people advancing, more people coming into the space of owning. And then collectively, we can start dealing with that. I'll stop there.
You said
Okay, good.
you said that the enemy changes the strategy every day earlier before the show. I agree. And for that notion, I'm expecting, as a coach, I'm expecting my children to do certain things, to learn this system, not just when they graduate from high school. But let me go into the blueprint of where I felt bad that I was sort of throwing shade on the elders, the forefathers. Martin Luther King spoke to a group of junior high school students at Barrett Junior High School in Philadelphia, October 26 in 1967. That was 1 year before I was born. And he gave them a blueprint. And the first thing, one of the first things he said to them is, don't be ashamed of your color. Okay, now this is a man who's processed everything. And I'm expecting that he would speak for that time, but he spoke for this time as well. Don't be ashamed of your color. And he said, my young friends, the doors are opening to each of you, the doors of opportunity that were not open to your mothers and your fathers. And the great challenge facing you is ready to enter these doors as they open. And he said that basically Ralph Waldo Emerson said that if you create, then the world will be the path to your door. But let me get into the mandates that he basically gave those children. He said, I would urge you to study hard and burn the midnight oil. And I would say to you, don't drop out of school. I understand all the sociological reasons why we often drop out of school. Well, now men today, we're psychologically traumatized by some of the things that happened to us in the past and our ancestors. But he said basically, and when you discover what you are going to do, this is his first mandate, set out to do it as if God Almighty called you at a particular moment in history to do it. When we get a job, when we get a business, it's God called us to do that business, and we should do it because we have a calling. Do that job so well that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it better. I don't see that prescription of excellence in the Black community. I don't care what you say. I've never been told to be excellent. I've never been told to. When you sweep in the street, you sweep it like Michelangelo was painting a picture. I've never been challenged to that. That's why, as a coach, I say we're losing because we haven't challenged ourselves. We don't expect our children. We don't read to our children before they go to school and they go in with a vocabulary of about 900 words while our white brothers and sisters come in with 1,500. Then now you know why we send our children to them to get a job and we haven't created one for them ourselves. It's not that man's responsibility. When God called us for a position, he didn't just call a black man to be a preacher at the local church. He called you to that job you're going to. Okay? Now, I'm gonna stop with plenty to talk about. But if you're doing a job, that's some Kobe Bryant, that's some Michael Jordan stuff. If you're doing a job that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it any better, that's excellence. And we're not expecting excellence. And if you fail your lot as a street sweeper, still sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures, all of us will have janitorial businesses. All of us will be reaching the highest level that we can, no matter what we are doing. Dr. Martin Luther King called us to work like Shakespeare wrote poetry. That's the blueprint that he gave us. And if you can't be a pine on the top of a hill, be a shrub in the valley, but be the best little shrub on the side of the hill, for it isn't the size that you win or you fail, but be the best whatever you are. That's the blueprint. Don't allow anybody to pull you so low to hate them. Don't allow anybody to cause you to lose your self-respect. Now we are in jail. Pastor Trey said something a couple of years ago, it still rings in my ear. What if those folks weren't in jail and they just came out and they, at least half of them was making $10 an hour? What contributions to our race, to their families? I'm going to throw the race card out in case you think I'm being pro-black. To the families, the children that they had before they went in there. And how many more children would they have? Everything we do that we do excellent, we send that in Hollywood to other races to make money. So we don't own Hollywood. We got Tyler Perry. Now we mad at him because he making us laugh and at the same time making us praise gay people. So I'm going to say, and I hear you breathing, Brother Nat, the struggle continues for justice. King did not give us an opportunity to make ourselves better, but he said, make life better for everyone else. So you must be involved in the struggle for freedom and justice. We've made an option whether we want to take the black struggle on or not. And that's not acceptable when people died and their blood, sweat, and tears just for you to vote, even though you think it's a slot machine that you're putting your vote in. And you don't believe in politics, but people still died.
Thank you, Coach Garrison. He don't burn his case. He like Macho Man. I'm about to pass the offering bucket.
Woo! Don't play with me.
All right, come on now.
I'm going to respond.
Okay.
I hear and I appreciate the passion.
Yeah,
but I also have to say, just because you were not challenged, as you said, to be excellent, doesn't mean other black people are not challenging their children.
Our children are hungry.
You're speaking for the whole race.
Yes, because it's valid.
If
you don't want to be black, just turn in your black card then.
I'm just saying that's not truth, sir.
Well, why are we last in the economy then? We're not passing any land.
Now you're not. Who's not passing land? I just finished telling you. I just finished telling you land was passed on.
Hold on, Elder. Make it more exact. What did your talk about your grandfather and your great grandfather? Go ahead.
They left land to their children, and the land is still in the family.
A lot. Okay.
The land is still in the family, and there are other families that have done that. Right. So to just paint a broad brush that nobody is doing that, there are people doing that, and there are people challenging their children to be excellent. Otherwise, we wouldn't have people being excellent. We wouldn't have scientists. We have people in everything. So to sit here and rant that we, the collective we, are not doing anything is not factually
you
true.
Don't believe in the team just because the team got superstars on it. You don't believe the team should win just because the team has got superstars that you're talking about, your grandfather. But you don't believe the team as a whole, the black race, is significant.
Hold on a second.
I do believe it's significant.
And
I also see other people doing things.
That's right. We haven't done enough.
Okay, but that's not okay. I'll grant you that. You say we haven't done enough. That's your opinion. I'm saying the fact that we are where we are, there are reasons for that. The other team,
we need to overcome those reasons.
You want to say
Let's overcome those reasons.
Fine, but don't blame everything as we are.
I'm a coach. The team lost. Get your act together, everybody. First string, second string, third string.
All right,
We are not.
Gentlemen,
this is not a game.
Gentlemen,
this is not a game.
Gentlemen, we got two.
It is not a game.
Pastor Lawson had said nothing this quarter. Go ahead, sir.
I know we're about to run out of time, so I just wanted to get this in before we run out of time.
Don't tell that because it's not a game. The time.
Come on.
Listen, listen, guys. I think both of y'all are right. When Martin Luther King did all that he was doing, they were people, everything that Martin Luther King was talking about, there were some black people that weren't suffering that. There were some black people that were free. There were some black people that were educated. There were black people that had access. There were a lot of black people in America during the civil rights movement that didn't need the civil rights movement. So both of you are right. You're right to say that somebody has got to cry loud and spare not for the 80% of people that don't have the access, even though there are 20% that do. But you're also right, Elder Nat. There are people that are doing fine. They're like, you talk about the baby boomers. I had somebody. There's a man in Black history called Harvey Beach that was one of the richest in Eastern North Carolina that graduated from first to graduate from UNC Law School. His wife reached back and got me out of the ghetto, and that's why I ended up in college. Not because of my parents, not because of people that knew me, but because of that man's wife. They reached back and got me into college. So yes, I did good, but most of my friends did not go to college. So I think both of you are right. There's some good that's happening in the black community, but there's also a lot of bad. And the question is there's more bad than good? Then we got to keep crying out, and we got to, like Bill Cosby said, we got to tell these guys to pull their pants up and get something done. So both of y'all are right.
We need another show.
On that note, we got 10 seconds left.
I love you, Elder Nat.
We got 10. And we're talking on Real Talk for Real Men. We'll talk to you later.
WBISLP 106.9.
Yeah.